Hello, everyone. How are you?
Doing good, and yourself?
Pretty good, pretty good. Let's get started here. Let's see. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is John Bernardo, KW Sacramento, managing broker out here. I think I know all of you. Thank you for joining me. So this is test prep. We are on section 2, laws of agency and fiduciary duty. Is everyone ready? So this is going to be a interactive participation. So that means you're going to, I want to read questions and hopefully you can answer. And the more you participate, the more fun it'll be. Let's get started. The initial step a licensee takes to sell a property is what? Anybody want to chime in?
B.
Yes, B, obtain a listing contract. You cannot do anything on behalf of a seller until you have a signed listing agreement. Broker Jane has a listing agreement for a certain property. Agent Nancy, who works for broker Oscar, got an offer. Agent Paul, who works for broker Jane, got the offer accepted. The commission goes to who?
Oh. A.
Agent Nancy?
Yeah.
Anyone else?
B.
Broker Oscar? It's broker Jane. Remember, when a listing happens, right, the commission is procured by the listing agent, but the listing broker owns the listing, right? So the commission always is owned by the listing broker, and then they share it with the other agents, right? So does everyone understand? So.
Yes.
Agent Dan proposed to rebate part of his commission to buyer Ed if buyer Ed would raise his offer to be acceptable to seller Frank. In this situation, Agent Dan, but Ginger, are you there? Ginger, that's a great picture of you.
I'm here. I'm driving, and I'm trying to find a parking place. So,
No problem.
anyway, that's why I'm kind of muted right now.
No
Okay.
problem.
Okay.
Did someone say an answer? I apologize. So.
I think it's A.
No, it's actually C.
Mm.
Because if you're the buyer's agent and you're going to use part of your commission to make the deal happen, you're actually using the seller's money to do that, right?
Right.
So you must disclose to the seller that you're using part of their money to make the deal happen, because that is a concession from the seller, right? So.
Right. Okay.
A real estate agent who represents the buyer is a buyer's agent unless the agent has already entered into a what?
Ooh, all of the above.
All the above. Good job. A power of attorney terminates when?
Ooh, all of the above? I want to say B, but
It is
B.
correct. It is above. That is correct.
okay.
An agent misrepresented facts about a property that was offered for sale. The injured property can sue the agent and the broker. The broker may be held liable under the doctrine of what?
A breach of, oh wait. Oh, D.
We have D. Anyone else? It's actually C, respondit superior. So there's a concept in agency law that's called respondit superior, which means the principal can be held liable for the actions of their agent, right? So
Okay.
all the following statements are correct about dual agency, except, ooh, what's dual agency?
Dual agency.
When you represent the seller and the buyer.
Yeah. So you notice this is D because all those are examples of dual agency. It's where you represent the seller and the buyer at the same time, right? So an unrepresented buyer in an open house has been approached by the listing agent. Thereon, the listing agent had acted for the buyer without explaining to the buyer that he or she, the listing agent, is the seller's agent. This situation created a what?
C.
Correct. An accidental dual agency, which you want to discourage. That's not a good way to do it. So the following are examples of material facts that must be disclosed to the buyers, except. So what are the things that need to be disclosed by the buyers?
D.
Correct. D, you do not have to disclose if the property was used for a religious or political activity, as that could make it discriminatory. A property sold for $200,000 with a 6% commission of the selling price. It was listed and sold jointly by two salesmen. One listed it and the other sold it. There was an agreement that the commission be divided 20% to the listing salesperson, 30% to the other salesperson, 50% to the employing broker. The selling salesperson had a commission of what?
I'm gonna go with A.
You go with A?
Yeah.
B.
Oh,
It's just important to know
the math.
in real estate, when they say it's a listing salesperson, the other salesperson is a selling salesperson. So they're actually talking about the 30% here, right?
Okay.
And just so you know, I don't want you guys to be confused on the test. When you say there's a listing agent, you're gonna say there's a listing agent and a selling agent, right? When you say there's a seller's agent and then a buyer's agent. So selling agent also means buyer's agent. Listing agent and seller's agent means the seller side, all right? So just be careful.
Okay.
Once the buyer and the seller have each completely satisfied all the terms and conditions, the escrow agent becomes the agent of the
D.
it is A, the seller buyer. So escrow, remember, is a neutral third party. So they're going to have fiduciary duty to both sides, to both parties in the transaction. An intentional concealment by a broker of facts material to an agency agreement may be regarded to as. Wow, this is interactive here.
It's D, blockbusting.
No, it is A, fraud. So, yeah.
Oh, it's fraud.
Fraud. The intentional concealment by a broker of material facts is known as fraud. So. The concept of agency is concerned with the principal-agent relationship, wherein one person has legal authority to act for another. To create an agency relationship, blank is the primary requirement.
Compensation.
None of the above.
Correct, none of the above.
None.
Compensation is not a requirement to create
Yeah.
agency relationship. So
It's just the contract, right?
just, yeah, you could have agency relationship from conversation, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to have compensation tied to it, right? So. A prospective buyer asked the broker regarding the predominant race in the neighborhood where the property is located. The buyer felt that such information is a material fact. The broker declined to give this information to the buyer, which caused the deal to fall through. The broker's action is what?
D.
Correct. In accordance with the law. If your buyer or seller want to discriminate, you are prohibited from going along with that action. So. In the sale of blank, a statement must be contained in the form agreement that the amount of commission may be negotiable.
C.
See,
Correct. So California law requires that every statement on a listing agreement contain this statement that all commissions are negotiable. So the seller and broker enter into a 90-day listing agreement that ends before the buyer is found. The seller instructs the broker to continue finding a buyer, but does not sign a written extension. The listing agreement.
is, D, if it's not written.
D.
C.
Right, yeah. 90 days.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, D.
D. It is
Not
D, non-enforceable unless. Correct. Sorry about that. I had a little microphone issue there. Okay, so in general, the broker can earn his or her commission when he is she what?
Both. C. C.
Correct. You guys are getting smarter by the day. Broker Joey, acting as agent for seller Kelly, misrepresents seller Kelly's property to the buyer Luis. Brokers Joey's action may result in what?
D.
Hmm.
All of the above.
All the above. You can be sued, fined, disciplined. It sucks. So don't do it. Oh. The property that sold for $185,001, where the seller had a fixed amount of $185,000 to get from the sale, and the broker's commission be whatever is left of the net proceeds, $1 in this case, is a typical listing that is called what?
B.
D.
Correct, a net listing. Good job. A broker paid commission to an unlicensed real estate salesperson who performed acts wherein a license required. The broker may be subject to hello.
Fine.
Fine.
No, A, suspension or revocation of his license, his or her license.
Hmm.
A broker found out that a salesperson was accepting referral fees from local lenders for each real estate loan the salesperson referred to the local lenders. The broker laid off the salesperson and informed his other salesperson never to accept such fees. One of the following is the most likely outcome of this situation.
Hmm. That's a good question.
That's a good question.
B,
Who gets in
B,
trouble? Who gets in trouble?
the salesperson.
No, it is A, both the broker and the sales, even though the broker didn't know what's going on. Remember that legal concept of respondit superior? It means that the broker is still responsible for the agent action, even if they didn't know what was going on, right?
What? That's crazy. Okay.
The broker's taking a lot of risk, right? So,
Yeah.
For what the agent did.
for what the agent did.
Right.
So, Ginger, say you're an agent in my office, you go commit fraud, I could be held liable for lack
Right.
of, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. I could
Even
get
though I
you
didn't know
out
you
of
did it, right? So,
Don't want to do that.
one of the following is correct regarding the listing time period for an exclusive right to sell listing on real property. What's the correct listing time period?
All of the above.
All the above. Thank you. There. That is the listing period can be any amount of time, even if an agency relationship can be terminated through which of the following? How can we terminate an agency relationship? Now I'm your agent. Now we want to terminate the agency.
B,
B.
Correct. All those D. So it's either by mutual rescission, death or incapacity, or renunciation by the agent or the principal. A listing broker may be able to find a ready, willing, and able buyer through a cooperating broker. The cooperating broker may seek compensation from whom?
A.
It
C.
was A, but it's actually both now. Because in 1986, there was a lawsuit, and then when the cooperating broker did not provide the compensation to the buyer's agent, they went after the seller and won. So,
Oh.
an attorney in fact is what? What's an attorney in fact?
Power of attorney. B. D.
D?
D.
Yes, that is
D.
correct. D.
D.
Thank you, Danielle. That was appreciated. Among the basic elements of a listing agreement, one of the following is not one of them. Which was not a basic element of a listing agreement?
C.
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 Correct. C, because why? All commissions are negotiable, right?
Right.
So you can't have a rule that says 5 costs. That is called price fixing. That is illegal. Salesperson Queenie, who was employed by selling broker Robert, asked listing broker Sally for a $500 advance against agreed upon commission by the two brokers. Listing broker Sally paid salesperson Queenie $500, even if the transaction not closed escrow yet. This situation is generally what?
B. A violation. Oh, wait. Extortion. C.
It is B. It is illegal
Oh, B.
because agents only earn their commission at close of escrow. That's it. So you can't pay people ahead of time because they haven't earned it, right?
Right.
As an agent and fiduciary of the principal, a real estate broker owes a duty of what? A duty of loyalty. What does loyalty mean?
True. Honest.
B.
It would be
B.
E,
C.
D.
Both of those, yeah. Whether the agent is the seller's agent, the buyer's agent, or acting as a dual agent, the agent must disclose this information to the principal.
Oh yeah, more options become available.
Must dis-
Some of these other things, ones that will soon be launching Cardano, an over-collateralized protocol that is connected to a
It is C, as soon as practical. Let's see, this C is either when the relationship of the agent turns out more to be casual or as soon as practical.
B, right?
It is C. So
C. Oh,
it is when the relationship between the agent turns out to be more than casual. So like if you're at a open house and someone comes in and says, you know, oh, you know, looking at the house and you're talking to them, hey, how do you like the house? Well, you know, this is not the house we're looking for, but you know, there's a house down the street that we like. It's, but you know, we have maybe showing us the house, right? Then you need to, then, you know, at that point you say, well, hey, I'm happy to do it, but I'm gonna, if I do that action, that is a real estate action showing a home, so I am gonna now be your agent, right? So,
Right.
a seller tells a buyer that his office building generates a yearly income of $100,000. The buyer buys the building based on this representation, but soon found out that the yearly income was only $75,000. One of the following best describes the rights of the seller and the buyer. So what's the rights? And the seller said, well, too bad.
No.
Wait, the seller, the buyer.
What?
A. I don't know.
C.
None of the above.
What's that?
None of the above.
No, it is C. The seller would be estopped from claiming that the buyer should have not relied on the representation of higher level income level. So Estoppel is a legal doctrine which holds that a person should not be able to deny his or her own acts to the detriment of another person who has relied on such acts. The underlying principle behind Estoppel is to prevent injustice owing to inconsistency or fraud, right? So
Yeah, I'm not understanding that though. So like basically the seller lied to the buyer,
the
correct?
seller lied to the buyer at the benefit for themselves, right?
But
Right.
So
I thought since he bought it, okay, but even though he bought it anyway,
yeah, the seller
But he
can't
didn't-
lie,
Right.
can do things to increase the value of the property that are lies in order
Like if he
so the-
bought it and he kind of knew that he was kind of lying and he bought it anyway, then he wouldn't be, it wouldn't be, he would be
yeah, if the
SOL.
seller said, you
Okay.
know, I think the income's 75,000,
Yeah,
but here's all the leases, right? Here's copies of all the leases. And the leases total 100,000. I mean, I think it's 100,000. Here's all the leases, it total 75. It'd be on the buyer at that point, right, to verify that information, right? So,
okay, okay.
does that help everyone? Estoppel? So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and we'll talk a little bit more about it in the hearing. A broker who acts on behalf of his or her principal is a characterization of what?
D.
Correct all the above. Very good.
Wait. See, I'm on my phone and it's around.
Just here, I'll try to make it bigger. Is that bigger?
So
In the sale of a probate property, the broker can collect his or her commission when?
when the sale is wait.
D.
All of the above.
D.
D, yes, all the above, correct. The law requires an agent to provide the principal with a disclosure regarding real estate agency relationship form. Such disclosure has a 3-step process, particularly in this order.
A.
A.
Correct. Thank you, Annie.
A, yeah.
Unique. Yes, disclose, elect, confirm. Blank agency occurs when a licensee is acting for more than one party in a real estate transaction, where all parties involved have neither knowledge nor consent of such dual agency. What do we call that?
D,
Multiple.
Correct. That is called B, divided.
Divided.
And that is illegal.
Oh,
You cannot do dual agency and not have either party know you're not representing both sides. That is a divided agency, which is illegal. A property is sold for 5,000 less than 100,000 listed than the 100,000 listed price. The broker accepted a reduced commission of 4%. His commission is what? What's his commission?
3,800.
Yeah, 3,800. Yeah. There's an easy way without even doing math. What's 4% of 100,000?
4,000.
So if it's a little less, you know it's got to be
38.
yeah 3,800.
I didn't remember that.
There's an easy way to cheat this. You don't have to actually do the math. You can do the math, but you know. The best way to form an agency relationship is through a what?
B.
B,
Yeah, B.
Yes, just put it in writing, right? Absolutely. Salesperson Tom was hired by broker Ursula. The following statements are correct regarding broker Ursula and salesperson Tom's working relationship, except
Okay.
D.
it is D. So let's back this up. So broker Ursula is responsible for salesperson Tom, who acts as her agent. That's correct. So remember, salesperson licensees act as on behalf as an agent of the broker. Okay.
Mhm.
B, salesperson Tom is an employee of broker Ursula for real estate law purposes. So in California, even though you're considered an independent contractor, you are still considered an employee of the broker for real estate law purposes. And the reason that is so that the broker is still responsible for their agent's actions, right?
Mhm.
But under the federal code, the federal tax code, salesperson Tom is an independent contractor broker Ursula for income tax purposes. That is correct. Federal tax code says you must be paid. You must be paid as a 1099 contractor, independent contractor. All right. So all those are true. So the except means none of the above. So. In California, broker commission agreements must be made what?
A.
A,
Not by a handshake?
No.
No. Correct. In writing. A principal agent relationship can be created through several methods. The following methods are creating agency except. This is important. This will likely be on the, not that other things won't be on the test, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be on the test.
B.
Except Estoppel.
Except to stop. Oh, nice. It's actually C, ramification. It's actually ratification. So you're going to have to know this, okay? So we're going to go with this.
Yes.
So we're talking about how agency is created. So at what point, when you're talking to someone in the public, do you become the agent? That you become their agent officially, right? So when a principal acknowledges an unauthorized act after the fact, and acknowledges the benefits, an agency by ratification is created. So one of the ways an agent can result in agency is by ratification. So what does that mean? What it means when a principal acknowledges an unauthorized act by after the fact. So, for example, I have a good friend. Me and Gary are good friends, right? I go to Gary's house, and him and I are going to watch the game and talk about selling his house. I bring over, a 12-pack of beer. Me and Gary get pretty drunk. And I can tell Gary's pretty drunk and doesn't know what he's doing, but I'm like, oh, let's get this house sold. He's like, yeah, let's do that. And Gary signs a listing agreement with me while he's drunk and doesn't know what he's doing. All right?
Right.
Is that considered an unauthorized act?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
The next morning, Gary has a big hangover.
He's like, what the hell did I do?
What the hell did I do? I remember signing something. Calls me up. Hey, John, what's up? Did we sign something? I was like, oh, yeah, don't you remember? We signed that listing agreement, right? We're sitting home, just like we talked about, right?
Uh-huh.
He's like, man, I don't remember. I wasn't cool, but, man, we're buds. I want to sell my house. That's fine. Let's just move forward, right?
Right.
That's agency by ratification. Make sense? That means I didn't create agency right at the beginning, even though he signed the listing agreement. It's because I did it while he was not of sound mind, right?
Right.
Right.
But
Right.
the minute he said, well, that's okay, I forgive you, let's move forward anyways, then at that point, agency is created. Make sense?
Wow.
All right. And then the second way you can create it is when a principal leads a third party to believe the person is a principal's agent, then the principal cannot refute the agency relationship through which is agency by estoppel. All right. So what does that mean? So how do we create agency by estoppel? So say I'm hosting an open house. Okay. And Gary comes into my open house, and I don't know Gary. And Gary's like, oh, let me take a look at the house. And he comes around. And after he's done, we're talking. He's like, yeah, I kind of like the house, And I was like, well, I represent the seller, but I'm happy to do a dual agency and represent you on the offer, blah, blah, blah. He's like, well, I don't know. And then lo and behold, another person comes to the open house while we're talking. Kathy comes in. And Kathy knows Gary. And Kathy's like, Gary, how's it going? Blah, blah. It's good to see you at this open house. Long time no see. And then Gary's like, oh, yeah. Hey, this is John. He's actually my agent. Right? He's going to help me write an offer on this house. Right?
Right.
Because he told Kathy, a third party, that I'm his agent. Now we have agency. Does that make sense?
Yes.
No, he didn't say it to me. He said it to Kathy. Because he said it to the third party, he can't deny that I'm not his agent. Okay? That is called agency by estoppel. Okay?
Were there barred?
Is that basically, John, because you have a witness?
Yeah, and it's not a witness. It's when they say something to a third party.
Right.
So they don't say it to you. They don't say, hey, Kathy, I want you to be my agent. They say it they either act or do something that toward a third party that lets them know that makes them your agent. So like he said, even he's talking to his friend, not talking to me. Even if I'm talking. That situation is going in the open house where Gary's talking to Kathy and they're just talking as friends, and a third person walks in, and then I say, hey, I'm talking to that person. I'm not even talking to Kathy and Gary, and I'm just overhearing them. And Kathy says, Gary tells Kathy, hey, I'm going to have John write an offer for me. and not even talking to me, I'm talking to someone else at that point, and I overhear it, at that point, I have agency, right? Even though it wasn't said to me. Right? So
But it's not written.
it's not written. It doesn't have to be written. Remember, agency does not have to be created by writing.
Okay.
So express agreements created when a personal agent really expressly agreed to an orally in writing so orally in writing. So express agreements, we either verbally say it or we write it down. Then we have agency, right? The minute it says, Gary, I want you to help me buy a home, then you have agency, even if it's not in writing. And then there's finally implied agreement to words or action. So implied means, like that example, can you show me that house down the street, right? That is an implied agreement because they're asking me to do something that only an agent could do with agency, right? Make sense?
Yeah.
So can a buyer change agents frequently?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
they can change agents. Just because you have agency doesn't mean that the buyer can't change agents or have agency with other agents, right?
Okay.
So it's really it's more of a commitment by the broker than the buyer, right? Because when the agent, when agency is established with a principal or a client, the agent then has responsibilities to that person, right? Responsibility to fiduciary, right? Not being honest and fair, those sort of things, right? So that's why it's important. So it's not really important to the buyer. The buyer can always go to another agent and say, hey, can you help me? But just know once that agency kicks in, it's because laws kick in on that govern your behavior as an agent, right? So you got to know
So
the,
John, if they have
yeah.
but if they have an exclusive right to sell, they cannot go to another agent, right?
There is a form called the exclusive buyer representation agreement, right? If a buyer signs that document, then that will obligate the buyer to that agent for a period of time, right?
Okay.
But they have to sign what we call an exclusive buyer broker agreement. Okay? And it's kind of like a listing agreement, except for a buyer, right? So.
Okay. Thank you.
So you need to know there's 4 levels of agency creation: agency by ratification, agency by estoppel, express agreement, or implied agreement. Okay? They will likely be on the test. A broker failed to disclose to the seller that the buyer was the broker's father-in-law. This situation is what?
All of the above.
All the above. Good job. All the above. For real estate law or income tax purposes, a real estate salesperson is a blank of the real estate broker.
B. Oh no, A.
Now B is fine, I guess employer.
So we got real estate law and income tax purposes. Right? We know an employee under real estate law. We know you're an independent counsel of income taxes, but what is the one thing you are for sure? And is correct as A is agent.
Agent.
You're always
Okay.
an agent of the broker. A listing agent owes fiduciary duty to his or her principal. Third parties too are owed by such listing agent a duty of what? Okay. So, if you take a listing from a seller, right? You have a fiduciary duty to that seller, right? But what if you put it in contract and there's a buyer and buyer's agent? What duty do you owe to the buyer and buyer's agent as a listing agent? It's awfully quiet.
Loyalty.
See?
Correct, Kathy. Care. The thing that you owe to the other side is care. That means you got to care. You got to ask, you got to answer their questions, seek to help them, right? But you don't owe loyalty. If you owe loyalty, buyer could ask, hey, how much is the seller willing to sell even if below list price, right? If you
Yeah.
owe loyalty to the other side, you'd have to say something. You have to tell them, right? So all you own is care. Blank is an obligation owed by an agent to a principal that imposes on the agent high standards of good faith and loyalty.
B.
Correct. Fiduciary duty. You owed a fiduciary duty to your principal. When the broker has authority to accept an earnest money deposit on behalf of the seller, one of the following statements holds true. What'd you say, Kathy?
I said D.
Correct. D. Ah, good job. Good job. When a seller refuses to pay a broker commission, the commission the broker is entitled to, the broker can what? So I sold the home. The seller is refusing to pay me. What can I do?
2.
Yes, thank you. Oops. Sorry. I can sue the seller. A licensee who is a buyer's agent is required to orally disclose such information to all concerned.
D.
We have a D. A licensee who is a buyer's agent is required to orally disclose such information to all concerned. It is A, as soon as practical.
Okay.
The following agent's fiduciary duty to a principal accept. So agents have fiduciary duties to the principal. Which one is not a duty?
Disobedience.
Disobedience, correct. B, disobedience. Broker Greg is acting as an agent for both seller Henry and buyer Ian. Without seller Henry's consent, broker Greg discloses to buyer Ian that seller Henry will accept an offer less than the listing price. Broker Greg is what?
C.
I'm not sure about A, but I'll go with C.
Yeah, this C. You can't disclose to any person, if you're the listing agent, you can't disclose a price less than the list price that the seller agreed to, that the seller is willing to accept to any buyer or buyer's agent without the seller's permission. One of the following can be a property manager. Who can be a property manager?
Someone who holds a license.
Yes, you must hold a license, but you must hold a broker's license.
Yeah.
If you have a salesperson license, you can't do property management unless the broker allows you to do property management on behalf of the broker. The blank listing is where the seller pays the broker commission, regardless of who sells the property, even if the seller sells the property.
Exclusive right to sell.
Exclusive right to sell.
A.
Correct. So it's important to know, we're going to go through the different types of listings. And this is important because they're going to be on the test. So one of the most complete way that an agent can ensure they get the commission is to do an exclusive right to sell listing where the seller pays the broker commission, regardless who sells the property. Even if the seller finds the buyer and brings them themselves, the agent still own a commission. There's no exclusive right to sell. There's some.
What-
Common.
What's that?
That's
Say that again.
common.
In residential real estate, 1 to 4 units, residential, exclusive right to sell is the vast majority of sales that happen. So
Yeah.
When you get up to commercial, it gets different. In a principal-agent relationship, the agent is regarded as the principal's what?
B.
B.
Yes, sir. Although sometimes we're going to be their spiritual leader. Let me tell you, sir. So I had this investor, right? It was during the recession. I had this investor, and he ran. I won't disclose him, but he ran a nonprofit, a conservative nonprofit that sued, schools and stuff for, banning prayer in schools and stuff like that. So, anyways, he puts himself out there as a very ethical guy, right? And we bought this investment property, and he hires this contractor who's this friend at church. All right? This friend at church who was he was having hard times. So he said, here, I'll help you out, fix my house up, right? Guy goes to fix the house up, and he opens up one wall, and the wood on the wall, everything just falls off the wall. And it turns out like that whole wall was being eaten by termites, right? And the whole wall needed to tear out that whole wall and replace the whole exterior wall, right? Because it was just termite infested, right? And so the contractor goes back to my client, and I was there, and he's like, hey man, I found this. We have to raise the price because it's going to cost me about $2,000 extra to replace that wall, right? That we weren't anticipating. And my investor's like, no, you agreed to the price to fix the house and fix the whole house. That's your problem, right? And then I had to turn to my investor and said, hey, what would God do in this situation, right?
That's right. That's right.
And I had to shame him into agreeing to pay the down on luck contractor who he hired from his church, right? So sometimes you are the spiritual leader, but by law, you're just a fiduciary. Right?
I love that one, John.
What's that?
I love that one.
Oh yeah,
Me too.
yeah. So you're a lot of times you're a marriage counselor, spiritual leader. Yeah. Seller Agnes was led to believe by buyer Bella that agent Kathy was buyer Bella's agent. This is an example of an agency relationship called what? Oh.
All of the above. I don't know what A means though.
It is
Either A or
That's the one I didn't get.
so ostensible authority is this when the principal acts such a way to lead a third party to believe the agent was authorized to act on the principal, even if the principal alleged had never conferred such agency relationship. So it's kind of like estoppel, right? Or sorry, ratification, right? So we talked about agency by ratification, right? So the legal authority we use to say you can create agency by ratification is ostensible authority. So,
Okay.
so that legal act. So when someone talks to a third party and acts like another person, that agent is their agent, even though they never talked to them about that, the legal act they did is give ostensible authority to the agent, right? At that point, agency is created by ratification, right? So, got it?
Yeah.
In the absence of a written agreement for payment of commission, a broker may sue the seller under a blank theory. If you don't have a written agreement for compensation, can you sue the seller?
Yeah.
Yes, you can under tort theory. That's only if the seller did acts that harm the economic relationship you had with them, that cost you money, right? On the promise of selling the home, right? In the sale of a residential property, a broker may charge a maximum commission of what? How much can you charge?
As much as he wants.
As much as you want. 20%? Which one's right?
B.
B, correct, as
Oh,
agreed.
right.
Yeah, if they
Okay.
sign 20%, good job, right? So a broker who failed to disclose dual agency to either parties may be subject to what?
Both.
Both. Yes, you can discount action and a lawsuit. Not good. As a general rule, a broker can collect a commission when? When can a broker collect a commission?
There is an escrow closing.
Correct. When escrow closes, remember we talked about you only earn your commission when there is a closed escrow, period. End of story. Nothing else. That's it. One of the following is not a cause for termination of an agency relationship. What's not a cause of termination? So now we talked about how to get into agency relationship. Now, how do you get out of agency relationship?
B.
What?
B.
D, correct. None of the above. So the seller, the only way the seller you can get out of agency is either death by either party, mutual agreement, eminent domain that removes the property, or destroyed, right?
Okay.
A fiduciary duty owed by an agent to their principal is similar to what? So we have fiduciary duty, agent principal. What is that similar to?
C. Assign to signee.
Anyone else? There's actually B.
B.
Oh, trustee. Okay.
So remember, say there's four brothers, right? And their dad passes away, and it goes to probate, and the dad appointed in his will he wanted all his money to be split 4 ways amongst the 4 brothers, right? But he appoints one of his brothers to be in charge of it, right?
Right.
That brother is now the trustee. Okay. And the beneficiaries are the sons. So that means the trustee, the brother, has to honor their commitment to the sons and look out for their financial best interests as well. He can't steal the money, right? A property is leased for $90,000 for 20 years. The commission is 6% for the first year, 5% for the next 2 years, 4% for the next 5 years, 3% for the remaining years. What would be the remaining commission after 18 years? We are not doing this commission. This is crazy. I don't want to do that. So if you did it all the math, it would be $61,200. An undisclosed dual agency is blank in all states.
D.
D.
Correct. D.
D. D.
An agent must submit all offers to the seller, even if the seller has accepted an offer, except when.
A.
C.
It is A. You
Oh,
must present all offers even after acceptance unless the seller has instructed you to. An agency relationship may not be formed by one of the following. An agency relationship may not be formed by one of the following.
Yes.
It is D.
Yeah. Right.
An exclusive right to sell listing is a blank agreement as it requires an exchange of promises.
Bilateral.
No,
Oh God. Wait.
that's a wrong. It should be unilateral. Okay, so a listing agreement is a unilateral agreement.
Oh, a listing
A
agreement?
contract agreement by says a bilateral agreement.
Okay.
But why is a listing agreement a unilateral agreement?
Because it's between one person, I don't know.
It's the exclusive right to sell listing.
No, it's because what happens if you sign a listing agreement, but you don't sell the home during the period of time?
It becomes expired, right?
Yeah. What happens? Does the seller owe you any money?
No.
No. So we call that a unilateral contract because only one person, there is nothing owed unless one person does an action.
Mm.
You
It's a
know, it's different in Southern California. It's unilateral. I mean, it's bilateral, I think. And in Northern California, it's unilateral, I think. Do you know that? If that's true, John? That's what I was told.
Okay, here.
Mm.
Is bilateral, isn't that two people?
Hmm. Okay.
Juan, I can't hear you.
Disclosures? Mm. Seller. Let's see. Wait. See?
Can anyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, sorry. In general, if a broker wants to be entitled to commission, he or she must do what?
See,
See.
Correct, C. A broker lets his clients know that he charges 6% commission on all his listings and that all brokers, other brokers, charge the same amount because 6% is the standard in the industry. The broker is in violation of what?
Antitrust laws, I guess.
Yes, antitrust laws. Very good. In general, a subagent owes blank fiduciary obligations to the agent's principal.
Similar.
That's similar. Very good. Gary, man, you're killing it. An agent or brokerage firm can represent both the seller and the buyer in the same transaction as long as what?
See.
Correct. Both. Man, Gary, you're killing it. An agency relationship is created when a person acts on behalf of another in dealing with third parties. However, agency relationships may be present when principals, even when no third parties are involved. Examples of agency relationships when services are done without third parties include relationships between who?
see,
There's actually both patient and
See.
doctor and attorney of client. Yes. So I want you guys to understand your fiduciary agency relationship with your clients under law is the same as if you had a doctor-patient relationship or attorney-client privilege, right? So that's how important it is. So,
With the doctor patient, it's the HIPAA law, I guess.
yeah, HIPAA law. Yeah, they get agency through HIPAA law. We get ours
Yeah.
through state law, right? So, an agency relationship can be created through any of the following except, well, we know this. Which one can we not create it through?
T,
A.
orally.
Right.
No, A, vicarious. We can create it orally, remember?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. For a real estate broker to act in place of the principal, the broker must elect it as a what? So what does it mean? I'm broker. My seller says, because of COVID, I'm stuck in Russia. Can you just sign the docs for me to sell my home?
Attorney of record. C.
B.
This is correct. B, an attorney in fact, because you need that power of attorney to do that, right? So
What's the difference between B and C?
there
I
is
just
no such thing as attorney of record. Attorney of in fact means when you have power of attorney for someone else, right? Your title. So say I have power of attorney for you. My title is attorney in fact for Gary, right? So. An agency relationship establishes a fiduciary duty owed by an agent to a principal, blank. House. An agency relationship establishes a fiduciary duty owed to an agent to a principal, blank out the scope of the agency created by the principal. Ooh, sorry. That sounds weird.
A.
No.
Within.
Be within. Yeah, within. An agent's compensation called the commission is generally based on what?
A, based on the selling price.
Yes, A, the percent of the selling price. You guys should all know that. That's how you get paid, right? So, in a real estate transaction, it is a sole responsibility of the blank agent to protect the buyer's best interest.
Buyers.
Correct, the buyer. Very good. Oh, wow, okay. Hey, congratulations. You have finished section 2, laws of agency. How do you guys feel you did on that?
Good.
It was good. I did section 1 again today.
Okay. Oh, good job. Okay. So that was section 2, laws of agency and fiduciary duties. Next Thursday will be property valuation and financial analysis, really about appraisals. So a lot of people struggle with that because it's kind of a different animal than real estate, right? So, hey, anyone have their test dates lined up?
October 19th.
October 19th?
Yes.
Oh, nice. Anyone else? Ginger, you have yours?
What? Do I
Your
have
test
what?
date.
November 4th or something like that.
How about you, Kathy? Kathy, you've been on here a while. I know you do.
Yeah, November 9th.
Oh, okay. Coming up.
Yes.
Well, good luck to you all. Testing is hot and heavy, and it's exciting. A lot of new agents coming in. Hot market. All right. Get your license. Get in here. So
I'm gonna talk to you the first of the week about the packet you gave me and coming in, whatever everything that was on there.
okay.
'Cause I've been kind of MIA, haven't I? Huh.
Yeah, but it's all good. Things happen.
Okay.
Life happens. So.
Okay. But I need to come down there a couple of days a week at least, right?
Yeah.
Or more?
I'll give you a call. Give me a call. So.
Yeah, I will. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Gary, Kathy, Ginger. I appreciate you guys. Have a great day.
Okay.
See you
Thanks,
next week.
John.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.